AI is already changing gaming. Players are just looking in the wrong place. AI in video games is going to happen whether people like it or not. I mean, that sounds harsh, but look at the pressure studios are under. Games cost more to make. Players do not want to pay more. Small teams are trying to compete on Steam against thousands of other games. Big studios are trying to keep production moving while spending another country's GDP on one release. So when people act shocked developers are using AI, I kind of have to be honest, what did you think was going to happen? This is not a story about robots making full games from scratch. That is just a basic take. The real story is that AI is becoming normal in boring production layers players rarely see. Think like store art, icons, localization, prototyping, things like placeholder assets, voice drafts, moderation, anti-cheat, NPC systems, player safety tools, translations, marketing copies, stuff like that. That is where the shift is happening, and that matters because players are not just buying output, they are buying trust. If the industry uses AI to pump out more content while giving players less clarity, the backlash is going to get worse. Most players are watching for the wrong kind of AI. Most players are looking for the obvious stuff, like bad AI art, fake voices, lazy Steam pages, soulless NPCs, cheap looking trailers, and to be fair, some of that deserves criticism. If you're charging money for a game and your store page looks like somebody typed, like cool fantasy warrior, cinematic lighting, 4K into an image generator and called it a day, players are going to clown you, and they probably should. But that's not the full picture. The bigger shift is not always visible. It is happening behind the glass. AI is being used in the production pipeline. AI is being used to help small teams move faster. It's being used to test ideas before a team spends months building the wrong thing. It's being used to translate games into more languages. It's being used to moderate voice chat. It's being used to coach players, tune systems, and create support tools. That is not as flashy as AI will replace every game developer, but it is more useful. The future of AI in games is not starting with sentient NPCs or something. It's starting with the boring work studios already struggle to afford. And that is why this conversation gets messy. Steam's AI boom is not what people think it is. The Steam AI problem is not that every game is made by robots. The problem is that a meaningful chunk of Steam's release pipeline now has some kind of AI disclosure attached to it. That does not mean the whole game is generated. That is where people get sloppy. An AI label can mean a lot of different things. It can mean the developer utilized AI for store page art. The capsule image had AI assistance. A few background textures were generated. Some voice lines were AI assisted. Localization was supported by AI. Concept art was generated during pre-production. The game has live AI systems within it. Those are not the same thing. A game where the entire art direction is AI heavy differs from a game where a two-person team utilized AI to create a few placeholder icons before replacing them later. But here's the problem. Players do not always get that context. They see AI content disclosed and immediately think the game is fake. This is lazy or it's slop. They replace real artists. Sometimes they are right, sometimes they are not. That is why the trust issue is bigger than the AI issue. Players do not only want to know where the AI is being utilized, they want to know where it's being utilized. They want to know how much was used. They want to know whether it replaced human work. They want to know whether it affected the actual game. They want to know whether it was just marketing. They want to know whether it was disclosed before launch. That is a useful conversation, not AI good or AI bad. That debate is too basic. The better question is this: where does AI make games more playable, fair, global, and creative? And where does it strip away the human craft that made people care in the first place? The money pressure is the part people keep ignoring. Here's where I have to be kind of blunt. A lot of this is not about creativity first, it is about survival. Steam is crowded, games are expensive, small teams are under pressure. Players expect polish, trailers, translations, constant updates, strong store pages, clean UI, good capsules, and enough content to justify the price. But they do not want to pay more. And I get it. I'm a gamer too. I do not want every game creeping around $70 or $80. That's a lot of money, especially when people are already dealing with rent, groceries, bills, and jobs that just don't even want to pay enough. But something has to give. If players refuse higher prices and development keeps getting more expensive, studios are going to look for cheaper production methods. That is not me defending every AI use. That is me looking at the math. A small team might need better Steam capsule art, more languages, store assets, icons, background art, marketing material, polish, faster production. AI gives them a cheap way to patch gaps. Again, that does not make every AI use good, but it explains why this is happening in the first place. A two-person team trying to survive on Steam is not operating from the same position as a giant publisher with hundreds of employees and a marketing budget bigger than an indie studio's entire lifetime revenue. So when people say developers should never use AI, I get the emotional reaction. But the practical question is sharper. What should small teams do when players demand bigger looking games, lower prices, more content, and perfect transparency all at the same time? That is where the conversation gets a little uncomfortable. AI disclosure is not a quality rating. Another thing we need to clean up is this idea that AI disclosure automatically means a game is trash. That's too easy. Some AI disclosed games are lazy, some are low-effort cash grabs, some deserve to be ignored entirely, but some are legitimate games utilizing AI around the edges. Some are small teams cutting production costs. Some are using AI for localization, marketing, concepting, or minor assets. Some are making real money because the actual game still works. So no, an AI label is not automatically a quality rating, it is a signal. It tells you there is something worth checking before you buy. That is how players should treat it. Don't panic, don't blindly defend it. Read the disclosure. Look at the game. Look at what was used. Look at whether the developer explains it clearly. Look at whether the final product feels cheap, dishonest, or careless. Because the real issue is not the tool by itself. The real issue is whether the developer respects the player. Now, this is where I do not want to sound like some tech bro who acts like every concern is just fear. The labor concern is real. Artists are concerned. Writers are concerned. Voice actors are concerned. Localization workers are concerned. Junior programmers and junior production workers are concerned. And they have a reason. Because the areas where AI is being used are the exact areas where a lot of entry-level creative work exists. That's art, writing, coding, voice localization. My opinion, the biggest short-term risk is not that every senior creative director disappears. The bigger risk is that entry-level creative work gets squeezed first. The early career artist trying to build a portfolio. The junior writer trying to get credits. The localization editor trying to get steady contracts. The voice actor trying to break in. The production assistant doing the basic work that helps them move up the ladder. Those are the people who may feel the pressure before the big names do. And that is why this topic should not be treated like a simple productivity upgrade. When a company says we are using AI to save time, somebody should ask, save time for who? Save money for who? And what kind of work disappears in the process? That does not mean every AI use is evil, but it does mean the industry needs to stop acting innocent. Here's the part the developers need to hear. The market may not punish every AI-assisted game, but it will punish games that make players feel tricked. Players can tolerate a lot when they feel respected. If a developer says we utilize AI for minor story assets, every asset was reviewed by the team, and no final character art or narrative writing was guaranteed, generated, some players will still hate it. But at least the developer is still being clear. That is different from hiding it, selling the game, getting caught later, and then acting confused when players get angry. That's just dumb. Because now the problem is not only AI. Now the problem is trust. And trust is harder to fix than a bad texture. That is why disclosure is going to become part of marketing. Some developers will say AI was only utilized for minor marketing assets. Others will say all AI-assisted content was reviewed and edited by our team. Others will go the opposite direction and promote no generative AI. And I think that human-made label is going to become a premium positioning tool, especially for narrative games, hand-drawn games, cozy games, horror games, RPGs, anything selling atmosphere, emotion, craft, or a strong artistic identity. Because when the market gets flooded with competent looking content, human taste becomes more valuable. That is the funny part. AI may raise the visual floor, but it may also make the real human work direction stand out more. AI will make bad games look better, though. This is the trap. AI will make small teams look bigger. That sounds good, and in some cases it will be. A small team with strong taste can use AI to move faster, reach more players, and polish parts of the game they could not afford before. But a bad game with better capsule art is still a bad game. A boring game with cleaner icons is still boring. A weak story with AI-assisted dialogue is still weak. A shallow combat system with better marketing art is still shallow. That is the part developers need to be careful about. AI can help package the work. It cannot replace taste, direction, and it cannot replace the reason people care. And this is where I think Steam gets even harder for players. More games will look commercially presentable. More games will have polished store pages. More games will have decent capsules. More games will look like they have more budget than they actually do. That raises the visual floor, but it also lowers trust. Players will have to work harder to figure out what is handcrafted and what is AI assisted, and what is low effort packaging. That's not a small problem either. That changes how people browse, buy, and judge games. Live AI is the riskier category though. Using AI for a piece of capsule art is one thing. Using AI inside a game while it runs is another. This is where the risk jumps. Live generated AI can break in real time. It can create moderation problems. It can produce weird, offensive, illegal, or immersion breaking output if the guardrails fail. It can turn a creative problem into a legal problem. And this is why I think most studios will move slowly here. Static AI assisted assets are easier to review. You can look at an image. You can check a translation. You can edit text. You can improve a voice line. But runtime AI is different. It's active. It generates. It reacts. It can go sideways while the player is watching. That does not mean live AI has no future in games. It probably does. AI-driven NPCs, dynamic dialogue, coaching systems, adaptive difficulty, live translation, procedural quest support, all of that could become useful if done correctly. But that is where studios need discipline. Do not sell players a living world if the system cannot stay inside the rails. Do not add live AI because it sounds futuristic. Add it because it improves the game. That should be the standard. So no, I do not think the real debate is AI good or AI bad. That is just lazy. The real debate is, does this make the game better? Does this respect the player? Does this protect workers from being quietly replaced in the most basic levels? Does this help small teams survive without flooding Steam with more polished junk? Does this make games more global, playable, and accessible? Or does it strip away the craft and replace it with cheap output? That's the line, because AI in gaming is not one thing, it is a stack. At the top you have the loud stuff everybody argues about. The art, the voices, NPCs, the writing, but underneath you have the production layer, the localization, prototyping, store assets, moderation, anti-cheat, player support. And that layer is where AI is going to become normal first. Not because everybody loves it, but because the production math is just brutal. But I think this is going to be the key takeaway here. AI is already changing gaming, but most players are watching the wrong part of the screen. The real shift is not just robots making games from scratch. It is AI becoming normal in acquired production layers to help games get made, sold, moderated, translated, and polished. My opinion is simple. AI should not get a free pass, but it also should not be treated like one giant evil button. The standard should be clear. Use AI where it makes games better, fairer, safer, more global, or more practical for small teams. Reject it where it replaces craft, hides labor, cuts, misleads players, or floods the market with low-effort content wearing a premium mask. Because players do not only buy games, they buy trust. And if developers forget that, the backlash will not just be about AI. It will be about the industry treating players like they are too dumb to notice.
Oh, hey, glad you're still here. I've, just finished syncing the next set of files for you. They're right over there on the screen. Take a look and, catch ya in the next one.